my name is Kate McMahon, and I'm your host today of What's Happening. Very excited to introduce you to my guest. This is Harry Henry,
Okay.
President of the Board of Directors of the Cape Cod Culinary Incubator.
Correct.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about this nonprofit organization that you're leading.
Sure. The Incubator was formed in 2013 as a nonprofit, 501c3. And the whole idea of the driver behind the Incubator is to provide a resource for food entrepreneurs. So we have an immediate goal of trying to get to a commercial kitchen, and in that commercial kitchen will be a shared use commercial kitchen. So think about the individual food entrepreneur who is making cupcakes or making grandma's salsa and wants to bring it to market. For them to go into a production operation, that's a big investment to open up their own space, their own kitchen. So the idea behind the Incubator is to have a resource place where they can go and for little investment get into a commercial kitchen which is licensed by the town health department and use as much time as they want to pay for to build their product, and along the way hopefully we can provide some other resources with regard to business, I want to say classes or help if they don't know much about marketing or technology or licensing or insurance. So the Incubator concept is really to get a fledgling or early start business and get them up and running so they can launch and hatch and get up there and get their business off the ground, hopefully create an operation for them, and maybe down the road hire a person or two to help them. So that's the whole Incubator concept.
Yeah. I know quite a few creative chefs on the Cape, and one or two that I can think of that would want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, there's actually what we found in the time we've been working and trying to build the market for us and to find a kitchen is there's actually 4 different types of food makers that we tend to attract so far. One is somebody who's going to actually make a product, whether that's a baked product or cooked product, etc. The second is food truck. There's about 15 food trucks on the Cape, and they need a commercial kitchen where they make their product and then load it on a truck, and then they need to bring that truck back at night to wash it, change the water.
Right.
Caterers are a third type because they need a commercial kitchen. And finally, the chefs that you mentioned. So we come across quite a few chefs who are working in a restaurant for somebody. They got their eye on a prize that they want their own restaurant. They may have a menu item or two they want to try out. Not easy to do when you're working in somebody else's restaurant. So having a commercial kitchen where they could, almost like a test kitchen, they could try out an item or two, and hopefully the space that we want to find will have some open space where we could almost do like a small pop-up restaurant where they could go wild and test their ideas.
Oh, how fun. Yeah. Do you have a location chosen at this point in time?
No, we're pretty open. I mean, we're trying to find the right place with obviously being a nonprofit. It can't be too steep a dollar. It probably needs to be mid-Cape. Just from our discussions with people who live on the lower Cape or the upper Cape or down in Falmouth, they're not necessarily going to travel to either ends of the Cape. So
more
it's
centrally located.
Centrally located, and that's going to be the real answer for us.
So I'm sure there's a lot of fundraising involved.
It's a combination of fundraising and grants. We tried a couple of fundraising events, and quite honestly, it's for anybody who's ever put on a party or an event, it's a lot of work. It's not always a lot of dollars that yield you. We've been very successful with grants, and we've really gone after a few this year. We've been lucky. We've been awarded 3 grants, 2 by 2 different state agencies and 1 by the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Oh, great.
And those grants are all focused around training and education, either workforce development of people who want to learn business skills around the food industry or culinary skills, and then also classes for youth. Youth in the town of Barnstable, give them some life skills and perhaps some vocational skills in the culinary field.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of cash flow and work, and it gets our feet on the ground, sort of gets us recognized for some of the things we're doing, and gives us a start.
Yeah, and you have to get yourself recognized out in the community.
Yes, you do.
Right, so that you can get local supporters.
That's
and maybe now we can talk a little bit about the great Cape turkey takeout that's happening for this Thanksgiving.
Yes. So the story and the origin of this is pretty interesting, is that because we don't have our commercial kitchen yet, we had to find ways that we could get to use a commercial kitchen. We had to find where we could go to use one, because we wanted to do classes that I mentioned, not only for the grants, but also fun classes for adults who want to learn how to cook. So we came up with this idea and coincidentally met up with the people at Cam Appliances in Hyannis, and Dave Murray, the general manager there, he and I started talking about potentially using Cam. And it turns out that what looks like an appliance store when you walk in is really, there's 5 live kitchens outfitted there. So
It's
water,
amazing.
electricity, gas back in there.
That's great.
And it's really done by the manufacturer. So there's a GE kitchen, a Thermador kitchen. And so we worked out an arrangement where Dave said, sure, come in and use the kitchens. They're sitting here. It'd be great to have some additional traffic, and plus I'd love to see the community use them.
That's wonderful.
So great. He said, we're not going to charge you, but next year we want to do something together where we and you help bring a Thanksgiving dinner to the community. So at that stage last year, I thought, sure, that sounded like a great deal, because I needed a kitchen. And
that was a year away. I can figure this out.
Exactly. What could be the problem? Well, here it is, 2019, and as I've told people, the bill is due. Here it comes. So in talking to Dave and exploring a little bit, he said, okay, we've got to do this. And I said, yes, we do. And I had a conversation with a few different people in the community who've done Thanksgiving related food events, and including a pastor at a church who in the past they've given either bags or baskets of food. People give them the makings of a Thanksgiving dinner to bring home and cook. And when I asked how it went, they said, so, because where people were very generous in giving lots of food, they sort of overdid it. The 25-pound turkey cannot always be cooked at the home of somebody in need. They may not have the oven or the facility or the capability.
Gotcha.
And they did things like included in the dinner, they gave them a 5-pound bag of potatoes. That's a lot of potatoes, and you may not know what to do with.
I don't know what I'd do with 5 pounds.
Exactly. So they said, it worked out fine that we had people who needed food, and we got them food, but the execution of doing that. So they advised that it'd be better to have a cooked dinner.
Okay, great.
What could go wrong?
Well, let's talk first about numbers. How many of these takeout turkeys did you commit to?
Somehow we committed to 50 dinners.
Wow.
And it's not just the turkey, it's the turkey plus all the sides.
Yes.
So so then we decided, okay, well, we can do 50 dinners. And then we added up, the first thing you have to think about is that who's got an oven that can cook 50 turkeys? So we wound up that our friends at CAM have committed to hooking up a number of ovens that are in the showroom, and they're going to cook the 50 turkeys over a couple of batches, and they're going to do the stuffing.
That's great.
Which is great. The next thing we thought of, we got to figure out who's going to get the 50 turkeys. So we've done one of our classes from one of the grants was with the Hyannis Community Center. And the Community Center has an office or a liaison with community services to look after families that may have kids or financial need, as well as the police department has a liaison office with the school. So working with that group, they're in the process now of identifying and inviting the 50 families to make a reservation to come pick up their Thanksgiving dinner on the Wednesday before.
Wonderful.
So we've got that part solved. The Hyannis Rec Center is also going to be our distribution point. So actually the families are going to come there that day, and we're going to stage all the dinners in the game room. We've got Hyannis Fire and Hyannis Police are going to be there assisting us to give them out and package it up. So we've got that part of the community.
That'll be a lot of work.
Then we had to get to the sides. So somehow it was decided that you have mashed potatoes and you have butternut squash and you have gravy and cranberry sauce and a pie and rolls. So talking to other parts of the food community on the Cape, which is part of our mission. Guaranteed Fresh Produce in Hyannis is donating butternut squash and potatoes.
Wonderful.
And then Jenny Wheeler, who's the chef at Federated Church Kitchens in Hyannis, is going to take those potatoes and cook 50 orders of mashed potatoes out of it.
Wonderful.
Aaron Webb from the Daily Paper Restaurant is cooking the butternut squash.
Great.
So we've got that part covered. I still have a little gap with gravy and cranberry sauce, so that should be solved this week.
Oh, good.
Centerville Pies is donating 50 pumpkin pies. Pan Davignon is donating 50 packages of dinner rolls.
You did it.
So we're almost there. We're almost there. The other part we have to work out is that once all this is cooked, I need another bigger walk-in refrigeration to store it until we can bring it over.
Oh, until you can get it over to the youth center
Yeah.
on
So
Wednesday.
there's a possibility we're getting a refrigerated truck for a couple days to park it in from one of the food service companies.
That's
So
great. That's great.
So we've got still a few things in motion, but for the most part, we're doing it. And of course, along the way, somebody made the comment that says, this is all great, but what about the rest of the towns? So we thought maybe this year we just do Hyannis until we could figure out.
Hey, it's like the first annual, right?
First annual, that's
you
right.
You learn and you
That's
debrief
right. That's
and you
right.
do it better the next time.
Right.
And I bet it's awesome too because you're really getting the concept of the incubator out to a wider audience.
Exactly. And our mission statement really is, like I mentioned, being a resource for the food entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. But it also includes and means that the resources involve education, like the classes
Yes.
and all that, and the community, because you have to have the whole community. So
Right.
we've really touched base from people who are growers or food providers to the people who make the food, whether they're making it to sell or in a restaurant or whatever, and then the distribution angle as well. So
That's great.
it's really coming together. It's very nice. So it's a good first start for
Right.
early stage.
Well, it sounds like you'll need a little bit of a breather after the end of November. What kind of plans do you all have for 2020?
Well, there's a couple things. The grants I mentioned are going to go across a couple of years. So two of them, there's one of the state grants has to do with offering business classes for food entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we learn is that when you see a food business not make it or fail in some form or fashion, I mean, we're all familiar with restaurants, but other food parts of business don't make it. And it's typically not because they're serving bad food or taste bad, but it's typically the business aspects that fail. Yeah. So you may be able to make great food, but things along the lines of marketing and selling or accounting or taxes or social media may be a bit of a challenge. So one of the grants allows us to put together a series of 8 classes that are business classes for the food entrepreneur.
That's
and
wonderful.
we're working on doing those in conjunction with the evening school up at Cape Tech.
Great.
And then the second one we're starting off with in 2020, and I think in January, maybe February 1st, is one of our board members, Scott Yell, is putting together culinary skills classes. So everything from knife skills to understand measurements, to understand the equipment that's in a restaurant kitchen or commercial kitchen. And that's for people who either want to make different kind of food or want to get a job in the restaurant industry, because we know that finding employment and getting enough people in restaurants these days has been a challenge for the last couple of years. So hopefully we can open up a little bit of a window there where people can learn some of those skills.
That's awesome.
So that's going to kick us off in January.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if any of our viewers would like to learn more, how can they get a hold of the incubator?
So the easiest way is on our website, which is www.ckc3.org.
Okay.
You can learn about us. You can. There's a place to join. So if people want to become members to help support the mission, on our Thanksgiving project, there's a countdown clock, so you can see how many days of Thanksgiving. There's a way to donate, so you can donate some funds there to help us where we have to fill the gap to buy a few things. And there's information about the classes we have on there as well.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being here today.
My
Harry.
pleasure.
We
Glad
really
to-
appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And until next time, I'm Kate McMahon with What's Happening.